Okay, over we go to Rainbow Rare Earths. Rainbow Rare Earths, it's a South African headquartered producer of rare earth metals listed on AIM. The company says analysts are predicting demand for rare earth oxides, that's NdPrs. It will grow substantially, and Rainbow are currently producing in Burundi in Africa, and one of only 3 listed rare earth mines outside of China. Also of great interest is a project to develop gypsum stacks for NdPr recovery at Phalaborwa in South Africa. When CEO George Bennett and his core investors recapitalized Rainbow last September, shares were in the doldrums at 3p and have since re-rated to 13 pence. So good on you for those who recognized George was going to do the business. It's given an RBW market cap of £65 million today. And George Bennett, CEO at Rainbow Rare Earths, joined us live from Johannesburg this evening. We're getting around the globe. Welcome, George.
Thank you for having me, Donald.
It's a pleasure, George. It's a pleasure. Now, we're not seeing your video. There you are. Fantastic. Okay, so over to you, George.
Sure. I'm just going to screen share my presentation. Can you guys see that?
Beautiful. Over to you, George.
Okay, good evening, everybody, from wherever you might be tuning into this presentation. Thanks for hosting us, and I really appreciate it. So Rainbow is, as mentioned, is the only operating rare earth mine in Africa right now. And we are at the forefront of what is known as the green revolution in terms of changes happening in technology, certainly in the electric vehicle space, as well as the green power space, which is wind turbine power being driven by large direct drive wind turbines going forward. There's our disclaimer. As I said, all modern technology today requires rare earth elements. There's this being from your cell phone, your AirPods, your drones, your electric motorbikes, your electric scooters, electric bicycles, but very importantly going forward, electric vehicles and direct drive wind turbines. And the growth in these two areas has been driven largely by government legislation. And by that I mean that there are emission standards that governments have said they're going to meet. And with that, they have decided to implement controls of internal combustion engines going forward, and they've also got green energy targets being driven by wind turbines. As you can see, what's driving the current growth in rare earth demand is 2 key elements called neodymium and praseodymium, and these are basically required for permanent magnets. And permanent magnets go into all these technologies I'm talking about. They go into all the drives, all the motors for the electric vehicle drives. They go into the drive of large wind turbines, and even your earphones from your iPod and so forth. All require permanent magnets. And neodymium and praseodymium are 2 of the 17 rare earth elements, but they make up 91% of the value of a rare earth basket. And that's why all projects around the world at the moment are chasing these 2 key elements, being neodymium and praseodymium. As I said, global demand in rare earth magnets is forecast to grow exponentially. At the moment, demand is sitting around about 50 to 60,000 tons per annum of neodymium and praseodymium and permanent magnets, and by 2030 it's expected to exceed 140,000 tons. So we've seen 200-300, even possibly increase in demand for neodymium and praseodymium. And as I said, it's been driven by government legislation. As we know, the UK is banning petrol and diesel car sales by 2030. They're even going to ban hybrid sales by 2035. And companies like Germany are targeting wind power expansion to increase by 40 gigawatts, and every wind turbine, 3 megawatt wind turbine, requires 2 tons of permanent magnets, and that's huge demand for rare earths in these permanent magnets that go into one wind turbine drive alone. As I've mentioned, you can see from the chart, these are the forecasts of demand. And basically, this demand is driving the current increase in neodymium and praseodymium prices that we've seen over the last 3 months in the market. We've seen prices increase by somewhere between 40 and 60% in neodymium and praseodymium. And for once, the forecasters were correct in forecasting that 2020 and 2021 would be the inflection point where they saw neodymium, praseodymium demand being outstripping supply. And I think we started to see that over the last 3 months. In terms of forecast of supply, China currently dominates the rare earth market. They are responsible for about 85% of the rare earth oxides mined, and they're responsible for about 90 to 95% of the downstream processing of rare earths and the actual separation of rare earths into the various oxides and rare earth metals that are required in all these high-tech industries. So at the moment, we're seeing a major shift in North America, the Canadians, America, and the EU now have started realizing that they need to look at alternative supply of rare earth and diversifying the supply chain away from China. We've just seen the American government support a big rare earth project, downstream project in the US with Lynas Corporation. And years ago, we saw Japan step in and help Lynas out because they wanted an alternative supply chain for rare earths outside of China. And Rainbow is very well positioned to become a significant supplier of these critical rare earth elements going forward. I've spoken about the neodymium, praseodymium price forecast, and we've already seen that starting to happen, as I said, over the last 3 months, where we've seen these prices rising quite substantially. Now in Rainbow, we are the only rare earth project that I'm aware of, and mine for that matter, that's got country diversification as well as project diversification. We've got the Korra Project in Burundi, as well as the Phalaborwa project in South Africa. And I'll start with the Gakara Project in Burundi. At the moment, we have a large mining permit covering 39 square kilometers, where we have got over 1,500 occurrences of rare earths within our mining license area, and we've got somewhere in the region of 57 targets. And when I say targets, these are not targets that we need to go and see if they've got rare earths there. Every one of these targets is mineralized and has rare earth occurrences. So we're in a very, very good position in Burundi. We have a trial mining operation where we are consistently shipping concentrate that we produce to China every month. And for the last 3 months, we've shipped 100 tons a month. And for the first quarter of this year, we're forecasting another 100 ton a month shipments to China. We produce one of the highest grade concentrates in the world, somewhere between 52 and 58% grade TREO. That stands for total rare earth oxides. There's only one project that I'm aware of that's got a higher grade concentrate, and that's Mountain Pass in America. And all the other projects that are on the cards, none of them can get to this grade of concentrate that we're experiencing in Burundi. What's also another big bonus in Burundi is that we've got very, very high grade veins with in situ grades running at some of the highest in the world. And we've also got pressure hosted deposits, which are lower grade. And we have drilled one of these deposits 2 years ago. And going forward, we will be going on a drill program to prove up our large mineralized resource that we have at Gakara. Just 4 months ago, we came out with a JORC exploration target. This is just from 9 of our targets. We got a JORC exploration target, which indicated that we've got at least 5,000 tons of concentrate production per annum for a 12 to 15 year mine life. And it's my intention to get this up to 10,000 tons per annum, and then go and take our trial mining operation into a larger commercial scale mining operation. As I've mentioned, we have got over 1,500 occurrences and 57 targets. The 5,000 tons in the exploration target, I must stress, was only as a result of 9 targets out of our 57 targets. So I think you can see why I'm confident that with getting 5,000 tons out of 9 targets, I'm confident out of the balance of our targets, we'll get to at least 10,000 tons of concentrate production, if not larger. Another thing I might stress is that we've got 7 historical Belgian mines within our mine license area. And generally in Africa, over the last 30 years, about 8 or 9 out of 10 large-scale modern mining operations have been founded on either historical, colonial, or artisanal mines, and we have 7 within our mining license area. So we're very confident that these Belgian mines, these historical Belgian mines, have got far more resources in them, and we should easily get to our target and be able to expand our operations to the size that we want to expand in Burundi. There's the JORC exploration target we came out with in October, and as you can see, if we take the average between the lower and the upper estimate, we comfortably get to at least 5,000 tons, and this is the target I intend to grow when we start a drilling program later in 2021. Where Rainbow has an advantage over lots of other projects in Africa and other projects that that still have to be developed, is that our trial mining is proving proof of concept. We're consistently producing, as I've mentioned, one of the highest grade concentrates in the world, and we have consistently proven that we've got very low levels of uranium and thorium in our deposit, and most rare earth projects encounter problems with uranium and thorium, and they have to have processes to remove this from their ore body. We are very lucky that our tailings are benign. They've got very low levels, as I said, and we are consistently shipping this on the high seas with our contractor ThyssenKrupp and exporting into China. And the fact that we can export into China confirms that radioactive levels are very, very low. And this is a major selling point for Rainbow. We have a very simple process. We just crush and screen, and with gravity, we produce this very high grade concentrate, and which makes our operating costs very low to produce a concentrate, and our capital intensity for our project is very low. And when we go to full scale commercial mining, as I said, initially I want to start at 10,000 tons per annum. Once again, we will demonstrate a very, very low capital intensity for the type of production we'll be doing. And as I said, at stage 4, we'll be building a commercial scale mine, which we're going to expand, and then we don't expect the capital for that not to exceed $20 million for a 10,000 ton per annum concentrate plant, which, as I say, is very, very low. And stage 5, we'll be looking at going downstream to beneficiate rare earth concentrate, and once again, our beneficiation plant to produce a mixed rare earth carbonate, we believe will be a very low capital intensity bit of plant, and because we're blessed with very good mineralogy in Gakara. As you can see, there's our pilot plant, which is successfully producing this high-grade concentrate. Very simple process, and it's really a green process that we have at the moment in Burundi, with very, very benign tailings going out to our tailings stack. The game changer for Rainbow is also our Phalaborwa project. In October, we recently signed a deal in South Africa to process gypsum stacks that are a result of mining in South Africa. These gypsum stacks were, as I said, are the result of 50 years of mining by Phoscor, the government mining body, and they produce a phosphate concentrate from a hard rock deposit, which was shipped next door or piped next door to Sasol, who had a phosphoric acid plant. This phosphoric acid plant produced phosphoric acid, which is a key ingredient for fertilizer. And during this production of phosphoric acid, they produced a gypsum residue, which was deposited on 2 stacks at Phalaborwa, grading at this stage 0.6% TREO, total rare earth oxides. These are the initial samples that we saw that Sasol had achieved on the stacks, and the resultant lab tests that we've seen indicate 30% neodymium praseodymium in the basket. This is one of the highest grade baskets in the world, and bodes very well for the viability of this project. Now, 0.6% might seem low in terms of a project, but when we have to look at Phalaborwa in light of ionic clay deposits in China, which is what they typically mine in China, and there they mine 0.03 to 0.08% grade TREO. So Phalaborwa is looking to be about 10 times higher grade, 10 times what they typically mine in China. And very important is that all the gypsum is already mined, it sits above the ground, and it's basically sitting in a chemical form, which is also another big bonus for this project. One of the key aspects that we believe de-risked this project for Rainbow was that Sasol built a full-scale pilot plant some 7-8 years ago, and they produced 3 tons of a mixed rare earth carbonate. So we know that they've successfully extracted the gypsum from the rare earths from the gypsum at Phalaborwa, and as I mentioned, they produced a mixed rare earth carbonate, and really what's very key is that the gypsum sits in the chemical form already and is being cracked. And a very expensive part of all rare earth projects around the world is once you have a concentrate, you have to crack it into a chemical form. And this has already happened by courtesy of Phoscor and then Sasol at Phalaborwa, and it also would indicate that we'll have a very low capital intensity project at Phalaborwa. We've got a very low cost of an earn-in there to earn 70% of this project, and we'll be able to do that on completion of a pre-feasibility study. We've already drilled the gypsum stacks. We completed the drilling very, very quickly, ahead of schedule and under budget in December. And all our drill core is now sitting with SGS laboratories, waiting for the assays to start coming out next month. What we do, sorry, I'm just looking at where I'm going now. So what we do see in Phalaborwa is Phalaborwa being a significant producer of neodymium and praseodymium. And if I can put that into context, if we achieve our initial forecast for production out of Phalaborwa, we're looking to treat somewhere in the region of 2 million tons per annum of gypsum, which will give the project a 17-year life. And out of 2 million plus minus tons of gypsum treated, if the grades come back consistent, as we believe they will be from the assays currently being undertaken, we should see ourselves producing 6,000 tons of mixed rare earth carbonate, and we will see 3,000 tons per annum, just over 3,000 tons per annum of neodymium praseodymium oxide. And if we add what we're going to be doing in Burundi, out of our 10,000 tons of concentrate being produced in Burundi, we believe we'll be able to get 1,000 tons of neodymium praseodymium oxide metal out of Burundi. And with both projects together, we'll be producing just over 4,000 tons of neodymium praseodymium oxide, which is about 80% of the size of Mountain Pass. And Mountain Pass has a market cap of in the region of about $5 billion these days. So you can see that we believe there's Rainbow has lots of upside. We believe we'll be one of the major producers of neodymium and praseodymium, and very importantly, we'll be very quick to bring both projects online. I mean, Phalaborwa, we anticipate will be in production in 2 to 2.5 years' time, and we're already in production in Gakara, and Gakara will just be a matter of ramping up production once we've proven that we've got the resource, which we believe we have at Gakara, to increase our trial mining into full-scale commercial mining. And within 2 to 3 years, we can see ourselves as one of the largest producers of neodymium and praseodymium in the world. And whereas a typical project, hard rock exploration project, you're looking at a 7 to 10 year life of bringing this project into production.
Okay, so time to wrap. Yeah, George, are you good to go?
Yep. No, as I said, both projects are, we believe, are world class. We have got country diversification and project diversification. Thank you very much.
Okay, George, thank you very much indeed. Let me quickly ask you straight in. Ian Wright asks, what are the biggest risks for your two projects, and how are you managing them?
The biggest risk in Burundi is we don't have the resource for some reason, but we've had since over the last year, we've had two independent geological studies, and they've both confirmed that we're in a very, very large, what they call large mineralized area. And we fully believe that with the drill program we are looking to embark on in the second half of 2021, that we will prove that we've got the resources to increase the production significantly at Gakara. We do not have mineralogy problems. We do not have uranium and thorium problems, which a lot of rare earth projects have. And we already have the back end of a bankable feasibility study completed, where we've got an offtake agreement. We successfully shipping to market, and we're successfully shipping on the high seas. So to a large extent, the back end of a bankable feasibility study is de-risked at Burundi. It's just the front end that we are busy proving up.
So where exactly are you with the feasibility study at Gakara?
So we will be, as I said, in the second half of this year, drilling to prove the resource that is big enough to do 10,000 tons per annum of production. And once we have the resource, then we'll do our technical feasibility study.
So slightly, you're already running a pilot mine, but haven't quite done the feasibility work on it. It's a strange situation, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. It is a strange situation, but as I said, it happened before my time. But a large part of what happened before my time has been successful in terms of the back end of the feasibility study has been proven.
Sure, you've got the contract with ThyssenKrupp.
Correct. We consistently ship. There's no problem with shipping to Dar es Salaam, exporting through Dar es Salaam, exporting into China. All those parts of the feasibility study have been done. So a lot of good work was done before I got to Burundi.
So what are the next steps you need to take to get up to this mythical 10,000 tons that you're talking to us about? You've only done 2,000 to date. You've only done 2,000.
No, we already have a JORC exploration target based on hard facts. At 5,000 tons, it's my intention is to take it up to 10,000 tons.
And how much capex will that take, and what's the plan? Give us the bare bones of the plan to get you to 10,000 tons in 2 years.
The capex there would be, well, in terms of, well, it's not capex, it's the funding for the drilling and the feasibility is we're looking at about $4 to $5 million.
And where does that come from?
That'll come from a fundraise.
Okay, so placing, you've got investors involved to this date, but you're not going to, or they'll get involved in the fundraise as well, perhaps.
Most definitely, we have no shortage of support for Rainbow.
No, I'm entirely sure. We've just had someone message us as part of the question, just say that they're going to become an investor. So you're doing well. Andrea Scott is about to become an investor. Either way, she likes what you say, George. You've found a fan. You've a new investor in me. Rainbow sounds very colourful. Am I correct in thinking that you mine a variety of rare earths and sometimes find surprises? Or do you target specific rare earths, she asks?
Just before I answer that question, I'd also like to highlight that Phalaborwa, we've already drilled it. And once the assay results come out, which we believe will prove that deposit is as good as it is, we've got a very significant rare earth deposit at Phalaborwa, which is already mined, which is why we believe we'll be at a very low capital intensity project. And as I said, so we will have a lot of good news flow, and we are fully funded at this point in time to be able to deliver the positive news flow we believe will come out of Phalaborwa, which is the assay results and the initial metallurgy and ongoing optimization of the flow sheet. The fact that we've got a pilot plant that produced 3 tons of mixed rare earth carbonates out of Phalaborwa is a very, very important consideration for that project. And we're in the middle of a very, very developed mining town. So we've got amazing infrastructure around us, which a lot of projects don't have. So
Yes.
we've got 2 rail sidings, we've got power, we've got mine suppliers, we've got machine shops, we've got workshops, we've got everything already at Phalaborwa.
You've got 2 cracking assets, is what you're telling me.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Somebody congratulates you on your 2 new hires. There you go. That's always good. Edmund says congratulations on your 2 new hires today. Can you see? Gypsum? The gypsum stacks in Phalaborwa do sound like a bit of a one-off. Is that fair, or can you find other circumstances in other parts of Africa where similar has happened?
Well, Phalaborwa, we believe, is potentially a one-off because of the process that happened before the gypsum was created in the stacks. You had Phoscore producing a phosphate concentrate from a hard rock, and the rare earths that were present in the hard rock were concentrated to higher concentrations, because on their own in the hard rock you wouldn't mine them, and then the phosphoric acid process once again concentrated the rare earths further. So suddenly you have, by courtesy of those 2 processes, you have a higher concentration of rare earths, which make them economic. They wouldn't be economic on their own. So it's potentially,
so it is a bit of a one-off.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the potential for other offtake agreements, says Edmund?
We will definitely be looking at that once we have confirmed the size of our resource at Phalaborwa. Correct.
Fantastic. Paul Rankin is a little bit cheeky. He says, if it's a simple crush and screen process in Burundi, why aren't you producing more concentrate to date?
Because it's a pilot plant. It's not a full-scale commercial plant.
Yes, and as you've explained, it's going to go up to 10,000 tons within 2 years. Okay. Yes. Well, look, we've just hit 7 o'clock. I think it's probably a good time to say thank you very much indeed to you, George, and time for Savannah Roses. George, you've been a complete star. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm sure everybody listening would join me in thanking you. That was very interesting. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for the investors and the participants for signing in tonight.
And look out for Andrea. She says she's going to become an investor.
I certainly will.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Okay.